But for the last 3 days, the premier's hunkered down here in Ontario's cottage country to discuss possible outcomes and how to prepare for them.
We denounce these illegal tariffs, and we think that they're a direct attack against our workers and now on in the copper industry, and so we'll fight against them.
Ford didn't screw up a product launch or lose a big gamble. The $2.5 billion hit it's expecting next year is just the fallout from a fight it got dragged into. All across Detroit, car makers are getting nervous and the warning signs are piling up. But the real trouble's coming from Canada, and it's not messing around. Instead of waiting for polite negotiations, Canada's gearing up for a serious counterpunch that could hurt both sides where it counts. Energy, metals, and the open border that keeps factories humming. This all started in Washington, where someone dug up an old Cold War law, originally about missile defense, to slap hefty tariffs on steel, aluminum, copper, and cars built in Canada. They're calling it national security, but it's throwing a wrench into the system. Canada supplies over half the metals US car plants need, and now those factories are staring down potential chaos. Back in early July, the US sent letters to 20 countries demanding new trade deals or threatening tariffs up to 50%. Canada got hit first, and it's not about to take it lying down.
Canada hits back.
All of it should go back to the workers and businesses that are affected, and most of it should go back in the form of a massive tax cut.
Foreign investors didn't miss a beat. As soon as the US started dumping treasury bonds, yields shot up and billions vanished from New York's markets in just days. In diplomatic backrooms, people were asking one big question. If Canada's being called a security threat, who's next on the list? Canada didn't waste time. When the White House doubled down on its plan to slap a 35% tariff on all Canadian imports, Ottawa went into overdrive. Within 48 hours, Foreign Minister Melanie Joly was in a room with heavy hitters from Canada's resource giants, Glencore, Teck Resources, Rio Tinto, all at the table, ready to figure out the next move.
If Trump is imposing tariffs, we're ready.
Foreign Minister Melanie Joly didn't mince words. She gave the US a clear ultimatum: back off, or Canada's closing the door. The plan she laid out is sharp and deliberate, designed to hit where it hurts. Step 1 is a direct jab, slapping a 25% tax on steel exports to the US. But that's just the start. The real pain comes next. Canada's ready to choke off electricity, raw aluminum and lumber shipments, all of which the US leans on heavily. Every move is calculated to sting. Ontario's hydropower keeps factories humming in upstate New York. Quebec's aluminum goes into 1 out of every 3 pickup trucks rolling out of Michigan. And lumber from the West Coast builds half the new homes in the Pacific Northwest. With one decision, Canada could grind it all to a halt. On July 12th, Ontario Premier Doug Ford made it real, announcing the province is prepared to tack on a $7 per megawatt-hour charge on electricity sent to New York, Michigan, and Minnesota, starting at midnight on July 22nd. Energy traders are already crunching the numbers, estimating US buyers could be shelling out up to $300,000 CAD a day. For small factories scraping by on tight margins, that kind of price hike could mean the difference between staying open or shutting down. The fallout's already spreading. Tourism's taking a hit, hard. Data from July 10th shows Canadian trips across the border have plummeted 76% compared to last year. Airlines are slashing over 320,000 seats on Canada-US routes for August. Travel agencies are nudging vacationers toward Europe instead of the US. Duty-free shops from Montana to Niagara Falls are seeing sales drop by nearly half. Canada's response might look calm on the surface, but it's fueled by a sense of urgency. For years, Ottawa played nice as tariffs piled up. First aluminum, then steel, then copper. Now it's done holding back. If Washington doesn't budge by the deadline, hydrogrids will shift, cargo ships will change course, and travelers will find new destinations. Every hour brings the continent closer to a breaking point where the flow of goods and power stops and new alliances start forming. Until this month, North America's auto industry ran like clockwork. A piston cast in Quebec could cross the border 6 times, cast, milled, heat-treated and machined in plants across Michigan and Ontario, before landing in an F-150 engine, ready for next-day shipping. That seamless rhythm is now at risk, and the clock's ticking. That carefully balanced choreography collapsed on July 11th. On that day, Washington's tariff notice officially put a 35% import duty on all Canadian goods starting August 1st. The fallout was immediate. General Motors halted production at a pickup plant in Mexico and warned its Windsor facility could sit idle for up to 3 weeks. The reason? There's no realistic way to absorb the taxes without grinding the supply chain to a halt. At the same time, copper prices skyrocketed to $5.68 a pound, an all-time high, after Washington floated an additional 50% duty on the metal, which is critical for EV motors and wiring. Suppliers wasted no time passing costs down the line, slapping surcharges on every component shipped. Canada struck back just as hard. Ontario reconfirmed its power export tariff for July 22nd, targeting more than 170 plastic and metal stamping plants in New York. In Sudbury, mines were ordered to reroute aluminum exports to Rotterdam, starving US buyers who are already paying triple the 2021 aluminum premium. The math for automakers and car buyers is brutal. The Alliance for Automotive Innovation now projects new vehicle prices could jump by 25%, adding roughly $7,000 to the cost of a midsize SUV. Buyers in states like Ohio and Texas are rushing to close deals before the price hikes hit. Banks report a surge in 7-year car loans as families scramble to lock in rates. Truck traffic on the Ambassador Bridge has plunged 18% in just 10 days. Even Amtrak has cut 2 daily runs between Toronto and Chicago due to a drop in southbound bookings. And the price shock is spreading far beyond assembly lines. Consumers are already feeling it on everyday goods. On June 9th, the Midwest aluminum premium hit 61.5 cents a pound, a staggering 161% increase since January. Buyers tried to stockpile early, but prices kept climbing. By mid-July, hot-rolled steel coil was hovering around $881 per ton in Chicago, roughly 33% higher than last fall. The National Association of Homebuilders warns that tariffs on steel, copper, and lumber could tack more than $10,000 onto the cost of a new home. In states like Ohio, mortgage lenders say that increase alone has priced 1 in 12 first-time buyers out of the market. The squeeze doesn't stop at housing. The July 11th PMI report shows the sharpest spike in consumer goods inflation since last winter, with furniture and recreational equipment leading the charge. The San Francisco Fed laid it out plain. If these tariffs hit full throttle in August, the average American household could see their income shrink by 0.44 cents. That's about $320 less in your paycheck by year's end. Canada's counterpunch makes it worse. If that hydro export fee kicks in, factories around the Great Lakes will see their power bills spike overnight. Those costs won't just sit there. They'll ripple through to grocery stores, car lots, and retail shelves. These tariffs were pitched as a shield for American jobs, but the bills showing up at checkout lines and closing tables far from any border checkpoint. People are starting to feel the pinch, and confidence is shaky. It's not just wallets taking a hit. Trade relationships are cracking too. Since the first Trump-era tariffs, Canada's dependence on US buyers has slid from 78% to 68% of its exports. Instead, they're turning to Europe, Australia, and Japan, where trade has jumped 42% in value. Canadian exporters are quietly ditching the US dollar, writing more invoices in euros or yuan to shield themselves from future tariff threats. It's a subtle shift, but it's real. The IMF reported on July 9th that the dollar's share of global reserves has fallen to 57.8%, the lowest in 30 years, while the euro's climbing to 20.1%. Every new tariff speeds up that trend. One more container shipped to Rotterdam instead of New York, one more deal priced in yen instead of dollars. The question now is whether Washington will ease up in time to save the trade balance both countries leaned on for years, or if Canada will keep building stronger ties with new partners, trading in euros and yuan. Each move pushes the needle further from the old rhythm, and trust is fraying fast. And that's a wrap. But before you go, drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to read them. If you enjoyed hanging out with us today, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on the bell so you never miss what's coming next. Stay curious, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next one.